A premium on education. That's been a mainstay of farming success for Jim and Eileen Minnix of Scott County, west central Kansas. Before returning to the family farm operation for good in 1980, Jim completed 2 degrees at Kansas State University in 1978, one in agricultural economics, the other in business finance, then tacked on a Master's of Business Administration degree from K-State in 1980. Eileen grew up on a farm near Hoxie. After earning her degree in biology from the University of Tulsa in 1986, she went on to earn her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree from Oklahoma State University in 1990. Together, they've grown the Minnix operation into a 6,800-acre enterprise, roughly 2/3 in crops, the rest in grass, to support their 60-cow beef herd and 350 stocker calves. And they have a penchant for thinking outside the box, for instance, as founding members of U.S. Premium Beef and having produced food-quality grain sorghum for a specialty product enterprise. Their 3 children, Catherine, Carl, and Luke, are now succeeding in their own careers away from the farm, but they remain co-owners of Minnix Farms. The Minnix family has been a staple of agriculture in southern Scott County for a long while.
I'm 4th generation. Actually, on both sides of my family. I had one grandfather come to Hays, Kansas on the train in 1873 and homesteaded originally in Ness County and was later in the Smoky Hill Cattle Pool and eventually moved to this area in southwest Scott County. I do have his last homestead quarter still in the family. It really wasn't a homestead. He bought it from a homesteader, I guess. It's 1 mile south of our current home. And the other side of the family moved here from Scranton, Kansas and Lebo, Kansas in the late 1890s. And they bought a patent quarter. The proceeds of the $200 of the sale for the 160 acres went to support the local school. And everyone has descended from those 2, basically, on both sides of my family.
Jim, talk about the state of the operation today. 6,800 acres, roughly, you manage. Is it predominantly crops? Is it crops cattle mix? What is out there?
It's a crops cattle mix. There's about 900 acres of grass. The rest is cropland. I raise wheat, dryland corn and sorghum and irrigated corn generally. We do no-till, and so I've had a challenge over the last 10-15 years. Actually, my dad was no-tilling back in the 70s. We've sprayed wheat residue for years. I'm trying to incorporate the livestock with the no-till operation. We're currently grazing our irrigated corn stalks, and I'll try to get one operation in a vertical tillage, but predominantly minimum till on the irrigated ground and no till on our dryland farm ground. I haven't really been optimistic with the cattle market the last 3 or 4 years, and our cattle numbers are down. I do buy cattle from several herds in New Mexico, and I have a long history.
And you're backgrounding those calves?
I background those calves.
You've been adopting of progressive management techniques over the years, it sounds. You were also one of the original members of U.S. Premium Beef, correct?
Yes. I'm a firm believer in Kansas agriculture, but in economic terms, we need to value add our product rather than sell commodity wheat and commodity corn. I wanted to sell the beef I produced in carcass data results and be paid the premium for what we're producing. And I thought it was a great economic decision at the time and stayed with it, and I still have.
You mentioned value added. On the crop side, you also raise a bit of food grade sorghum now?
Yes. We're currently shipping some sorghum that is headed for the popping machine, and it will go to a local mill here in Scott City, New Life Market. They are a gluten-free facility and produce quite a few of the products that go to Kellogg's or General Mills or some of those companies. To be sustainable in agriculture, you have to be efficient, and I think picking up new innovative ideas. I have some fence line feed bunks that my dad put in 1961. 1960 actually, late 1960. That was prior to commercial feed yards in western Kansas. Prior to that, forked silage and grain was shoveled onto trucks and delivered to the bunks in the middle of the pens. My dad instilled in me the idea that to survive you need to be efficient.
So you don't shy away from new technology,
No.
doesn't sound.
No, I've been involved with RTK and synchronization and artificial insemination and things like that for years.
Eileen, we'll let you start on the segment about the community service that you and Jim have engaged in. It's a long laundry list, but what stands out to you when that topic comes up as far as your accomplishments?
4-H has been big. Jim and I were both 4-H members when we were young, and so naturally our kids were in 4-H. And 4-H, especially in Scott County, is just fantastic. Teaches a lot of responsibility to kids. Our kids had great opportunities in 4-H.
The two of you hosted an international exchange student under the 4-H program, right?
We have hosted two.
Okay.
The first year we hosted Ian Thomas from Wales. Last year we hosted Mohit Singh from India.
We want to note, Jim, your civic service, if you will, as a county commissioner for quite a while here in Scott County.
I served 24 years.
You were able to bring an agricultural perspective to the county's business.
Yes.
Right.
We recently applied for and received a water permit for an industrial use well at the county road department. So a farmer's perspective on things such as that come in handy, I believe.
Both of you are very proud of your involvement in various missionary activities abroad, and you might spend a few moments talking about what inspired you in that direction and the kinds of things you've supported.
Jim's been a member of the Prairie View Church. It's a small country church that we attend, and our church has been active in a orphanage in Mexico. So we made quilts to send down and things like that, but involved in that orphanage. We are also involved with Liebrook on the Navajo Indian Reservation in western New Mexico.
Northwestern.
Let's talk briefly about your youngsters, and we'll start with the eldest, Catherine, what she's up to these days.
We call her Gail. She was named after my mother. She graduated from K-State, early childhood, worked at Stonehouse, started her master's, did get married in 14. And Chris is from Scott City also. She is expecting. March 9th is her due date. We both think it'll be a little earlier than that. Chris is in pharmacy school, so they did move to Lawrence.
Let's talk about Carl, one of your two sons. He's in the service.
Yes.
Carl's in the Air Force at Wichita Falls, Shepherd Air Force Base. He's about 40% through InJet, which is European NATO Joint Jet Fighter Pilot Training. He went through ROTC at K-State and got his history degree there.
And he's married, correct?
Married to Lauren Hogue from Bonner Springs. They're expecting their first in late May.
Not to mention the last one, Luke, who is currently a student at Kansas State.
Yeah. He should graduate in May. He plans to come home or to farm.
With a delay. He's
Yeah.
getting married in July, and his girlfriend is in her sophomore year of veterinary school.
Well, how important is that to you to have another generation returning?
It's important if that's what they want. If the kids want to come back, it's available to them. I'm just the transition generation from my parents to my kids.
Well, in conclusion, we always like to ask the honorees what it means to be designated as Kansas Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker. Your thought?
I think it's It's an honor. There's an awful lot of wonderful people out there, and I think Jim's folks, my folks, there's a lot of people that deserve the honor.
As a reflection on our parents, I think it says as much or more about them.
Well, congratulations to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim and Eileen Minnix of Scott County, Kansas, Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker, class of 2016.